Hey guys, it's Jordan Norris. Before we jump into today's conversation, I want to acknowledge something. If you're watching this the week it airs, FinCEN reporting is officially live. If you're a title agent and this feels heavy, you're not alone. At PropLogix, we've built a FinCEN reporting service specifically to help agents handle the outreach, collection, follow-up, and documentation so that your team can stay focused on closing and serving customers. If you want to learn more, there's a link in the episode description, or if you're watching this on social media, it'll be in the comments below. Welcome back to Title Talks. If you're watching this the week the episode airs, FinCEN is officially live. We're recording this a little ahead of time, but by the time you see it, the title agents across the country will be operating under a new reality. And today's conversation isn't about interpreting the rule. It's not about compliance checklists. It's about what this actually means for title agents, what they're thinking, what they're dealing with, and how this is changing their day-to-day. I'm joined today by Kim Whitlock from Westcor. Kim spends a lot of time in direct conversations with independent title agents, hearing what they're asking, what they're worried about, and how they're preparing. And that's exactly the perspective I wanted to bring to this conversation. Kim, thanks for doing this, especially in such a timely week.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to chat about FinCEN as we've rebranded it out here.
I've heard a lot of different acronyms and things passed around for sure. I think we were talking about naming one of our event parties FinCEN. So that's actually funny that you mentioned that.
Yeah, you should. It would be
Exactly. Well, let's start here. By the time this airs, obviously FinCEN is live, like I said. And as we're recording this, agents are either preparing, scrambling, as we were just kind of talking about before we started, or trying to make sense of it all. What's the tone of the conversations that you're having right now?
You know, I think most recently it's shifted from almost panic and anxiety to almost, giving into the reality of what it is. I think so far our industry has done a really, really good job of educating our agents. So a lot of them feel prepared for the actual, act of collecting and reporting, but it's almost the interactions with customers that's giving them the most anxiety, I think, right now.
And is this landing differently, you think, than other regulatory shifts that title agents have seen in the past?
Yeah, I think for the longest time, agents were hopeful that it would go away. And so they kind of put their head in the sand. And I think with other changes we've seen in the past throughout my career, we haven't had that if factor, so they almost went along with it right away. But in this case, I think it's that. They were really, really hopeful and kind of, some of them put it off a little too long, I think, thinking it would go away.
Right. And it did. I mean, it did in December, right? It was supposed
Right.
to launch December 1st and they pushed it off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, yeah, that makes sense that people would naturally think, oh, maybe we'll get pushed back again.
Yeah, big names like Fidelity pushing for us. There's a lot of confidence in a company like Fidelity. So they
Right.
had that big hope for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think one thing that I've been talking to some agents about too is that it's actually I kind of like the ruling, but it's interesting to me because of what it's intended to do, right? Which is that there's a lot of hidden fraud happening in the housing market, and this is like precisely what title is designed to do, right? And so, yeah, it's like a new thing, and I get it. No one really likes new things. No one really wants to do them, but it gives us another thing to, showcase that, like, here's how we're impacting the U.S. economy, really.
Yeah.
Not just how we're getting rid of fraud, but when it comes to the housing market and, people hiding investments in housing, it's something that we can say, hey, we're impacting this in a positive way.
That's a really good perspective that I actually haven't thought of yet. But yeah, I mean, we're under fire all the time about our value. And this is just another selling piece, right? However unhappy you may be about it, it is a good selling piece. I mean, it's a great point.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. When we talk about agents, when we talk to agents about FinCEN, you said that they're worried about, about explaining this to their customers, about explaining this to other real estate agents. But what else you think is really on their minds? As outside of customer reaction, I think is really what it is.
Sure.
Is it
Yeah.
operational burden? Is it the liability piece? What are you kind of hearing there?
I think there's definitely operational burden out there for sure. I hear that all the time, especially with the smaller companies, but it's definitely the liability, that personal liability. Those fines and those penalties are pretty hefty and extreme. And a lot of them are just very, very scared of doing it wrong and getting in trouble, right? And there's this fear that they're going to do everything they possibly can to do it right. They're going to accidentally slip up, and all of a sudden, their business is done. I'm hopeful, and I don't think that's exactly what's going to happen. But, it's new. And when you see those big repercussions, it can be scary for sure.
Yeah. I want to pause for just a second because what Kim just described is exactly what we've been hearing from agents across the country. It's not the rule itself, it's the operational weight, the follow-up, the documentation, the extra conversations. That's why we built our FinCEN reporting solution, to take that administrative burden off your team. PropLogix handles the outreach, the collection, and the clear-to-close documentation so you don't have to build that infrastructure internally. If that would make this week easier for you, the details are in the episode show notes. And I guess you answered my thought halfway through there too, which was, that they're feeling scared, right?
Yeah.
And that's like the quiet part that they're not necessarily saying. Like
Exactly.
they
Yeah. They're
have
not
to
saying out loud.
be they
Yeah.
have to be confident. They have to make sure that, because that's what title is. It's security
Mhm.
and confidence. So for something new to be introduced that they're a little unsure of can kind of shake things up a little bit. That makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah, they're not out there advertising they're scared. They want to come across, like you said, confident. They want their agents to know that they have it handled. What's interesting is I did a CE class yesterday, and the realtors in the room were just, their overall prevailing thought was, this is not fair to the title agent, who's my friend now, who I get to interact with all the time. This isn't fair that all the liability's on them. And that was kind of that was nice to see that, they had each other's back, that it wasn't
Camaraderie.
so
Yeah.
like, okay, well, this is just on you, so you deal. It was more like, we're a team, we'll get through it, and we feel bad.
Yeah. Agree. And let's move from emotion to execution.
Mhm.
What actually changes inside of a title office because of this? Is it, intake process, documentation flow, staffing pressure, transaction timing? I feel like it's all of those things, but
It's
like, what do you
all of
think?
those. Yeah.
Yeah, what do you think is the where are agents feeling the most friction, I guess, right now?
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. It's literally gonna touch, uh, almost all the parts of your workflow, right? Like, I'm advising agents, as soon as that buyer drops off their earnest money, if they're an entity, if they meet all those 3 criteria, right? Like, start having those conversations immediately. It's updating their TPS, right? You have to update your workflow. You have to integrate with a vendor if you're using a vendor. You have to train your staff on how to identify these transactions, and then how to have those conversations with clients. And again, it's about confidence. So you have to make sure that your whole team is confident enough to have those conversations, because it's one misunderstanding on a phone call